For this Breaking the Code video, we're going to look at Laura Vandenberg's story, Your Second Wife. You know, writers are like musicians. Everybody has a different style. There's no one way of looking at things, and you just have to kind of get into it and see what the writer is doing thematically. Carver is not going to reveal anything to you on a grand scale. You're going to have to get it through his minimalist style by understanding his word choices. Vandenberg is also a minimalist, but sometimes writers like to reveal their meaning and just put it right out there for you to have the understanding of the whole theme. And she does this on page 168 of the story in the section here that's entitled The Great Beyond. Now, of course, this revelation or epiphanic moment for our narrator comes when she is about to be killed, though she escapes, but here she's in the trunk of a car and tied up, right, ready to be dumped in Walden Pond. And she has a realization about, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this kind of work. And I'm going to start reading from the second paragraph in this section here. This is the problem with the gig economy, I think, as they squirm around in the trunk. Everyone is so vulnerable, and the rules for what constitutes civilized behavior, well, they're coming apart so quickly. I decided those rules were illusions all along. We have stopped seeing each other as people, as fellow travelers on this dying earth. We just see a gig or an economy. The men I deliver food to, the same ones who refuse to add a courier tip, offer me $20 to come up to their apartments. The dogs I walk pull on their leashes and growl at birds, and the owners send me angry texts demanding to know why their dogs, despite all these walks, remain so wild. Once in a recital hall, a husband pinched my nipple, as casual as can be, during a Shostakovich performance. His dead wife had counted string quartet number 3 among her favorites. This system is designed to keep us so depleted that we forget our sense of decency and become so mercenary about our own survival that we have nothing left to contribute to the common good. I can't think of a more scathing indictment of our current culture today, and you can see what she's up to here through this narrator. Now, it will be helpful for you to take this and look at it as a microcosm and then apply it to the rest of the text. So where do other people in here lose themselves? Where do they become so content on survival that they become mercenary or just fail to be real, authentic human beings? You can think of the two Helens who save her in the diner. They dress like the dead Helen, right down to the glasses and the apron. They have ceased to be themselves. Our narrator herself has lost contact with her best friend, right? She has minimal contact with her sister who's in Australia, but just enough to save her life. Her sister at least teaches her how to get out of a trunk when tied up. Right, so what among the many things that Vandenberg is saying is that our culture doesn't allow us to be rooted, to be grounded, to develop deep relationships with others, let alone, and most importantly, with ourselves. We just don't have that space. We're always doing side hustles. And I think that even the spacing of the story reflects that. It's very episodic at times. You have these pieces in here with these big gaps, and it's almost like just opening an app on a phone or something like that. One distraction after another, part 3, stockings, worlds of mystery. It's just these brief nodes of life and no real full life. It's one distraction after another. Australia, the Claremont Killer, Marco Polo, etc. And you can look at what each of these means individually and it would help you, but at least seeing them as a whole, you can see that there's no coherence to a full, rewarding existence for our narrator. She becomes Beth Butler as she becomes everybody else's second wife. And the details are just completely meaningless. Beth Butler preferred Kotex tampons, the same brand she'd used since she was 16. Her lipstick colors were all classics, blah, 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 blah. Well, what about you, right? What about you, narrator? Where's your sense of self? Where's your reality? And it's gone. I mean, did she have dreams? Yeah, she mentioned that she did, but, you know, she's blaming her poor existence on the gig economy, if you will, but she's also made these choices. One last thing that I'll say here as we look at the story is our section on Walden Pond here. That was put in there obviously on purpose, and like everything a good writer does. So Henry David Thoreau, in the middle of the 19th century, used Walden Pond, Walden, if you will, in central or near the Boston area in Massachusetts, as a place of quiet reflection, of peace, of communing with nature, of being alone, of reflection, etc., spirituality. He writes about man in peace and being alone in nature and finding himself, like Wordsworth the poet did in England in the 18th century. And now, of course, Walden is near Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, and near North Reading, and it's sort of been, trying to find the word, but it's been shrunk, right? And it's been urbanized, and the area around it is just this hustle and bustle of suburban Boston, if you will. And here's where this great American thinker, Thoreau, in the 19th century, was finding peace and finding meaning in the new country in America, and had this vision for what we could become if we found ourselves through reflection, through peace, found the sense of self, and then extended it to others. And now this is what we have. It's just rush hour all the time. And it's the place where her body is supposed to be thrown, although she does escape. So you should reflect on those concepts when reading this story, and doing so when you do your discussion. I'm sure you're going to see some details that I've skipped over here, and I appreciate it if you would pick up on those little points that you note and mention them in your discussion as well. Have fun with this. You're interpreting literature, but you're also interpreting your world, so I look forward to reading your responses. Take care.